Hello, friends, hello, colleagues, and hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of the Platinum Business Break Podcast. Hey, in today's episode is Volume 5, Episode 76, and you're going to love this one. And it's titled, If It's Not in the CRM, It Didn't Happen. So stop being a vendor and start owning the sale. All right. So now this one is built specifically for building products. If you're building product space, if you're a manufacturer, if you're a distributor, sales rep, a contractor, architect, design community, guys need to listen to this. Hey folks, welcome back to the Platinum Business Break Podcast. And this is the podcast where we challenge outdated thinking, we torch bad habits, and we occasionally tick off a few of the status quo people along the way. And I'm your host, I'm Dan Owens, and today I want to talk to my fellow manufacturers, contractors, reps, and dealers in the building product industry. And this one is going to hit home, because we're diving into a topic that's it's pretty controversial. And especially for a lot of the old timers out there, hey, and I'm going to count myself as one, this is probably going to make you mad, so just go ahead and turn it off now. And today, this one's going to hit home because we're diving into the real reason that your sales team is losing deals. Even after you spent tons of money and time on training, even after you brought in new reps, even when you got a better product. Okay, are you ready? Okay, here's the reality. You're still just a vendor. Now, in the words of marketing legend Dan Kennedy, again, if you look him up, he's one of my favorites. He's another famous Dan, not me, but Dan Kennedy. He's awesome. And he said vendor means commodity. Ooh, boom. So that one hurts, doesn't it? And oftentimes your company, your product, your service, you're referred to as a vendor. So that one does sting a little bit, but it's true. So if your buyer sees you as just as a vendor, they're just shopping on price. If they see you as a partner, however, you've got influence, you've got some leverage, you've got some loyalty. So how do you make that shift from being a vendor to being a value partner? So simple. Two things. One, you got to have the best sales training on the planet. All right. And then here's the other thing, CRM. And you need a CRM that's built for the building products industry. Okay. And I know, again, a lot of you, I can see a lot of you right now, I've lost 90% of you when I said CRM, because it's like, oh, my company makes me do a CRM and they're tracking everything. Okay. Come on, everyone. Look, we got to get up to speed with technology here. If you're really going to be successful in sales, if you really are concerned about your revenue generation and the commissions you're making, the CRM is the best tool for you to do that. So let's start with the cold hard numbers. There's a CRM crisis in the building product space. According to Construction Tech Report in 2023, only 32% of companies in our space are using a CRM. And let me translate that for you. That means 7 out of 10 companies are still tracking sales like it's 1993 on Excel, in someone's inbox, or a written legal pad next to the box of honey buns that's on Steve's desk. All right. So meanwhile, they're quoting these $1 million jobs with timelines that stretch 9 months and stakeholders who change faster than the weather in Texas. Okay. You can't operate like that and expect consistent sales performance. You just can't. So why CRM and training is the ultimate upgrade. Now, look, if you know me, you know I'm big on my behavior-based sales training, which I'm going to be talking about later this week in a live podcast. Look, I don't teach cheesy closing lines or magic script. I teach you how to adapt to your buyer. And I teach it using the DISC personality assessments, because people don't buy the same way. People are different, but they're predictably different. So, and if your team isn't adjusting, they're losing. Okay. So even the best training fades over time. Stats say that most reps, most sales professionals forget 80% of what they learned in a workshop within 30 days. Let me repeat that again. Most sales professionals, after they go through training, they forget 80% of what they learned in a workshop within 30 days. So that's a depressing return on investment on your training budget. And that's where Platinum Business AI comes in. And now the Platinum Business AI, just to avoid the confusion, Platinum Business Consulting is the main company. Platinum Business AI is kind of our software side, okay? And it's a really robust software. I'm not even going to try to tell you all about it because there's so much there you won't even, your head will explode. But what I want to talk about today is the CRM portion of our software. Let's talk about the reality of CRM. Look, I know there's a lot of big companies out there that say, hey, we're going to get a CRM, we're going to do a CRM. In the meantime, they're doing everything on Excel spreadsheets. All right, that's embarrassing. Okay, two, that is just not sustainable. Okay, you have to have a CRM. The technology is there, and it's pretty cheap. Okay, whether you're using something that I'm trying to get you to use, or whether you go out on the marketplace and use something like a Salesforce or a Zoho or a HubSpot, there are a ton of CRMs out there. My Platinum Business AI CRM, I think, is the best, because I did build it specifically for this industry. And I know some of you, for example, like if you're an independent rep, you probably have to get onto a CRM for all the product lines that you represent. Sorry about that. That's just the reality, and I know I hate that. But here's the other reality. People who use a CRM are more successful. And I mean, really, just really adopt it. Really say, look, this is a tool. It's not something to keep track of you. It's not something to restrict you. Okay, and if you have that mindset, you're a dinosaur, and you're just not going to make it, because the sales world is changing rapidly. And then look, you look at all the headwinds we're having in 2025. Sales is being looked at. Again, I talked to a lot of people in the industry, a lot of sales leadership. They're in panic mode. They are worried about this year, and the first person they're going to come to is the sales team. Seen it, been there, done that. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about. But I want to talk about how using our Platinum Business AI CRM can really help make a difference. So first of all, what makes our difference? So we make sure that when your team, when someone enters a contact, okay, or a buyer, we want to put their DISC personality type. So that way they know how to approach it. So every stage of the pipeline comes in with a built-in coaching prompt that tells them, okay, hey, just remember, this person is a D. Okay, they're dominant. Okay, don't tell a bunch of stories. Get right to the point. Also, you need to follow up 48 hours after quoting. The CRM will remind you to do that. You need to track 3 different quotes for one project with 3 different GCs. We do that too. Yes, and you can import leads from Dodge or ConstructConnect or whatever lead service that you're using, so you're not playing whack-a-mole with your inbox. The CRM just doesn't store data. It coaches your team, coaches you on how to sell if it's constructed correctly. Okay, that's again the big difference between what we do and everyone else out there, because I understand the industry. I've been in the industry over 35 years, so I understand. I was a salesperson, I was a manager, put together commission plans, ran sales territories. I get it. Really, what we need to talk about is let's quit being a commodity. That's really what the sales game is getting down to. So what I really want to address, though, is if you're in sales, unfortunately, sales takes the brunt of everything. And all you in sales are going, yeah. But let me just say it, publicly state it, that if your product isn't quality, if your operations, if your order management, your customer service, if your warranty department, if all that stuff is not in sync, in other words, if it's not executing the basics flawlessly, if it's not making it easy for your customers to do business with you, with your credit department filling out a credit app, I don't care what it is, the sales team cannot solve your operational deficiencies. Now, that's another podcast. A few podcasts ago, talk about stopping the chaos. I can help with that. That's a different topic. I'm not going to dive into that here. You can't blame your sales team for all the deficiencies in your company. They can't sell around it, okay? Because you are then at that point a commodity. So again, vendor means commodity. And hey, look, if you're just a commodity, buyers, they're going to beat you up on price, they're going to ghost your follow-up, and they treat you like the second bid they need to make their preferred supplier look cheaper. But when you understand their personality, when you ask the right questions, when you follow up on time, and when your system shows that you're on top of every project, they stop seeing you as a vendor. You become a trusted advisor. And that's where your CRM supports your process. It documents every step. It holds quotes or estimates. Again, I'm not going to get in the difference between a quote and an estimate, but basically, if you give a customer a price, whether it's a quote or an estimate or whatever, it can hold that. It holds that document. And what it also does is it holds all the conversations that you can scale and trust across your entire team, okay? And that's why CRM and our Platinum Behavior-Based Sales Training isn't just a nice idea. It's a strategic edge. Let's talk about a CRM built for the building products trench. Okay, our industry isn't transactional. Yeah, and sure, there are some transactional things, like a distributor's going to order in some stock stuff. But it's not retail, and it's not always a one-sell close. Look, you're quoting jobs, you're quoting projects, you're chasing projects for a month, you're dealing with owners, you're talking with GCs, engineers, distributors, and the occasional friend of the owner who somehow has buying power. We haven't figured that out yet. In most CRMs, they're built for the tech bros selling software. All right, or they're built for something else. Platinum Business AI CRM is built for you. So what we do is we got custom deal stages, like is it spec'd, value engineering. waiting on bid date, et cetera. You can attach multiple quotes or estimates to one opportunity and track the ones who won the GC award. And then you need to update projects from Dodge or ConstructConnect. Boom, you import that and it updates everything. So you want to automate quote follow-ups. Easy, we can do that too. So look, you don't need sales operations department to make this work. You need some software. You need a system that helps your reps sell the way they were trained. Okay, look, a hint. Okay, because I'm going to go live on LinkedIn this week. And again, this may, if you heard this after its history, obviously, but what I'm going to talk about is why most sales training fails. Okay, it's because you don't have a system that helps and supports your reps all along the way they were trained. Okay, that's a really important point. And I hope you get that. Okay, the next thing I'm going to say, what gets measured gets improved. We've all heard that. If you're in management, you've heard that all your career. So quick question. So how do you know if your reps are actually applying their training? Ooh, I know, I just saw all the sales reps out there just clench. Look, I've been in court. I've been in a dozen different types of training programs. Look, I've sat through, particular sales training programs. And, during the heat of the moment, man, we're all fired up. We get it. It fades so fast because either one, you don't believe in it. Two, it's not being reinforced or coached. Okay, it's just like, hey, he took that training 2 years ago. I don't know why he's not using it. Look, it's management. It's your responsibility to make sure they're using it, because the sales rep, he's going to go back to his old ways, and that is just human nature. They're going to take the easy button. They're going to take the easy way to sell because it's just easy. Trying to remember this process. But here's the catch: once they get the buy-in, once they see that the process works, they're going to use it over and over and over again. So again, how do you know if your reps are applying the training that they've learned? Well, if your answer is, I hope they are, okay, that's not a system, that's a gamble. We want to help you like that. With our Platinum Business AR CRM, you can measure how fast reps follow up. You can track how many follow-ups it takes to close. You can see where the deals are getting stuck, and you can coach with data instead of hunches. Now, I'm going to refer to kind of a competitor, Salesforce. I mean, Salesforce, they're huge. They're the best known. They're the Coca-Cola, they're the Kleenex, they're the best known CRM out there. Okay, but they did a study a while back showing that companies who use CRM effectively can boost sales productivity by 34% and increase deal conversion rates by nearly 30%. So when you combine that with a sales professional who knows how to adjust to the buyer's personality, now you've got something that the competition can't beat with price. Wouldn't it be nice not to worry about price? Look, I've worked in a couple of industries. I've worked for a couple of companies where for a time period, we didn't sell on price. We sold based on our service and the quality of our product. Man, it made selling so much easier. But anytime you have to go to price, that means you're lost. And again, worked with companies where, look, sales are looking like they're just going down the tubes. And so sales management, first thing they do is, oh, guys, what can we do to get these sales back? Well, guess what? The first thing they do is they cut price. They do it every time. If we could just offer some special pricing, that's what they do every time. And guess what? You just gave up margin when you didn't have to. Again, as I said before, you got to get some of your back end stuff fixed, and we can help with that. How long, when a customer sends in a PO, how long does it sit on a desk before it's entered? Do you have material available to produce that? Do you have quality things in place to make sure that you produce a quality product that's going to work the way it's supposed to? Is your transportation up to snuff? Are you getting that delivered when? And more importantly, are you communicating out to your customer when it's going to get delivered, how it's going to get delivered? All right, and on and on and on. Now, whether you're a manufacturer or distributor, that comes into play. Now, if you're a contractor, you're on the receiving end of that poor service, so you understand what I'm talking about. So this is very important that you get all that sewed up in the background, the behind the scenes stuff, because then you can name your, and I'm not saying you can be crazy with price, but your margins will increase. I guarantee it. I've seen it. All right. So here's what I want you to do. Okay. First of all, there's a couple links below. Click a time with me to do a quick demo. I'll show it to you, and you'll see how we've combined real world CRM structure with proven sales behavior training to help your reps stop being vendors and start being that your customers actually want to work with. And if you've already been through our sales training, as some of you have, our DISC behavior-based sales training, okay, this CRM was literally built to reinforce it. Every follow-up, every quote, every deal. But here's the truth. Trained rep without a CRM, if he's just going with his notebook and his memory, he's like a sharp knife just left in the drawer. But a CRM without training, well, that's just a digital filing cabinet. Again, I see a lot of companies, they implement a CRM. Well, it's not even the salespeople are using it. Your back end people, your estimators, your project man, they're all on the CRM, but there's no connection to your sales team. Okay, that's the big difference. So that's why I say it becomes a digital filing cabinet. So, but when you put the two together, when you put the sales training, the sales rep who's like, man, this is great training, and they have something to reinforce it with the CRM, that's when the magic happens. Okay, that's when you go from chasing bids to winning business. That's it. It's that simple. Again, for years and years and years, I always struggled with, how come sales isn't good? And I've looked back at companies where I've worked. And again, I'm not saying as a consultant, I'm saying as an employee, as a salesperson, as a regional sales manager or district sales manager, a title like that. Where did I have the most success, or where did my team have the most success? Well, it's where we had a CRM. And it's where we had a CRM where the sales professional, the salesperson, believed in it. They understood it wasn't compensatory. It wasn't a punishment. It was actually a tool. And you know what? And we won more business, and we were able to manage more business. And again, I can tell you some stories offline with that, but it does work. And again, I always thought that the missing component was not only the sales training, but how do you reinforce that sales training with a CRM that backs that up and reinforces what you've learned? Okay, it makes sense to me, and I hope this makes sense to you. So anyway, thanks for spending some time with me today on the Platinum Business Break podcast. And I'm Dan Owens, your host, and I'm reminding you three things. One, if it's not in the CRM, it didn't happen. Number two, if you're still just viewed as a vendor in your customer's eyes, you're playing the wrong game. And the last one, if you want to dominate 2025, you better have training and the tech to back it up, and we can help you with that. Okay, see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.